Hi guys.
Hi Jay. PDF ako isend sa inyo. By 9:15, we will start our class. Okay, please tell your other classmates to please mag-in na mag-in. Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's formally start our class. So good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, good morning. Am I audible sa inyo, ah? Is my voice clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hawak na background. Saba or one?
Medyo, sir.
Medyo.
Medyo,
Just,
sir.
just bear with me, ah, because we're inside the faculty room. Pagawas because na construction, so masamot siya kasama. But anyways, just focus on my siguro, my PowerPoint. Okay? So let's continue our discussion with regards to the research proposal. I might give you an activity regarding this one. Ha? So, mas isa na lang ako siya sa Google Classroom or sa Messenger. Okay, let's continue. So we're done discussing about the methods. Please enlighten me. We're done discussing this one, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's move on how do we create a quantitative studies. Okay, so for the qualitative studies, the method section typically consists of the following sections. So bear in mind, class, that there are different, let's say, there are different format when it comes to creating your methods. So it depends, no, on which study are you about to conduct. Is it about qualitative study or is it quantitative? Is it about experimental and etc. So despite of those differences, okay, most sections sa method are typically consist of quantitative. There's a consistency when it comes to their parts. For example, we have the design. Okay, the design it is a questionnaire study or a laboratory experiment, and what kind of design did you choose? So if you talk about design, whether you are whether the design that you're creating is about conducting an information or you're trying to get an information coming from your participants or let's say you wanted to have this study na medyo, kwan siya, no? Medyo, let's say, medyo broad and kwan siya, medyo specific and it has this what we call scientific na kanang involvement, then we can actually create our own design. For the subjects or participants, who will take part in the study? Yeah? What kind of something are you let's say, who are these participants that you are focusing? What are the sampling of the procedure that you're about to use? Or are these participants the same? Are they random? Are they chosen? So those things are involved, no, when it comes to choosing your participants. Now, when you're creating your methodology movement class, especially when you're conducting your let's say survey, no, you have to make sure that in your questionnaire, uh, either inibutang age, no, or the even the gender of your respondent. Ano man, because those part ng good, those kanang let's say those components, no, they are very kanang helpful when it comes to interpreting na, because there will be differences when it comes to the answer, especially when we go back to the definition of what is an ethic. No, if we talk about an ethics mongol, it depends. No? Which ethics are we talking about? Are we referring to gender? Are we referring to the age? And etc. Are we referring to the individuality of this person? And many more. So you have to be more keen when it comes to choosing your subjects or participants. For the instrument, what kind of instruments are you using? Is it a questionnaire, survey interview? Are you what do you call this one? Uh, are you randomly inviting people, no, to at least create a forum on what your study is all about, explaining to them what is your research is all about, and are they valid and are they reliable? Okay, sir, when can we say that our instrument is valid or reliable? That's the point of having advisor class. Okay, you have to submit first your sample sa inyong advisor or any research na expert. Even a statistician, you can actually invite them to check, no, your instrument if it's really measurable Is it viable? So you have to make sure that those things are really apart from the one from creating your instrument. There are one. There are those components are very important for those people. Eh? For the procedure, this is how you carry out your study. So in what way are we going to conduct our procedure? Actually, you have that part sa method mo siguro that especially in the scope and limitation of the study and what let's say that even the respondents, okay, even the place, okay, even the time is included. So if we go back on the quite on our last discussion with regards to how time management is very important when you're conducting the research, it should be observed every now and then because you are after for a result. If you have conducted the study for too long, there might be something wrong sa inyong hangkwan, sa inyong process, di ba? So you have to look forward. Yeah. During sa inyong pag-conductan ng survey or let's say conducting that study, na-ensure ninyo daan kung unsa ang mga kwan, kung kinsa, di ba? You have planned ahead. What are those things that you're about to do? What are the things that you're about to create? Are you are you sure that this plan of yours is really effective? Di ba? So validity is important, yes, and of course, no time management, and make sure that every one of you as a group, let's say, na ay accountable mo when you are doing your research. Hindi pwede na isa lang katao ang pwede mo liyog na. Because the procedure will take, let's say, it will take more of your personal time rather than your required, rather than conducting any type of research. So you have to make sure that it is already planned ahead. Okay. Now, how about if you have successfully done the method, or let's say you have done no all of those computations, all of those statistics, all of those things, all of those interpretation. So let's talk about the results and discussion. So the result here will be, let's say it's not the final, but yet it is also one of the uh, kind of most important part because this is where we can answer our question, di ba? So dali na ma-verify if your research is really it's if it's really essential, di ba? If it's really effective. So the results, obviously, you do not have results at the proposal stage. However, you need to have some idea about what kind of data you'll be collecting and what the statistical procedures will be used in order to answer your research question or test your hypothesis. So again, in the abstract mundo, you're not talking about kwan lang. You're not just talking about the introduction. You're not talking about the RRM, di ba? The result here, let's say that you have this hypothetical answer, and you have to make sure that what you have put in your plan and on the abstract should be met at the end of your study. So if you fail to conduct a study, you have to make sure also that you have changed, you know, especially the abstract part because you have already presented there the possible result, di ba? So it should be something na parang kwan. It should be something that deliverable siya. Because if you failed, then from the abstract pala, then there's no more kwan. There's no more kanang evaluation that needs to do. Because if you compare the abstract and the result, it's too far from each other. So what's the point of reading the whole content? So, di ba? So you have to make sure that the result is, let's say hypothetically done, but you have this plan naman good ahead that you have to make sure that those things are effective. No? And for the discussion, it is important to convince your reader of the potential impact of your proposed research. So it depends on what kind of, again, problem that you are about to establish. So you need to communicate a sense of enthusiasm and confidence without exaggerating the merits of your proposal. That is why you also need to mention the limitations and the weaknesses of the proposed research. Sir, when malamo mo answer that there is a limitation and a weaknesses of our proposed research, that's the point of defending the title. Because once you justified your research already, it will now be on the, let's say, which may be justified by time and financial constraints as well by the early developmental stage of your research area. Because if you are, no, if you choose, if you're choosing a problem that is, let's say it's easy, to conduct, you have to make sure that you have also considered the disadvantage and the advantage of that one of the problem. Because let's say you are defending your title already, di ba? Kutihan mo din na siya sa mga sa mga panel because why did you choose to study? Are you sure that you can do this one? Are you sure that your group can actually conduct this one? Are you sure that it will not lead you to any discommunicable ng mga decisions? Are you sure that this will be something that is efficient for the, let's say, society? Then you have to defend that one. You have to make sure that you knew already. Okay? Because, for example, I've heard that you have changed your study already. You're not your capstone research now is not about the what anymore. It's not about your chosen course, but instead you are now focusing on the institution, sa school. So the focus of your study here will lead you to many justifiable questions. So let's say, for example, that your target here is about the students. Then why choose the students? Diba? Why did you choose that problem? I think the problem is very common. So what makes your problem or your research different from the other research? Diba? So, like I've said, I've collected your title before sa inyong PR1 and PR2. And subjectively, I considered it as a very simple research. Why? Because one of your classmates, one of the group, sa inyong section already had the answer. So if you combine all of those problems, common ra ang iyahang pwede maansiran. So ang leading ninyo na sa inyong answer is usa lang. So tsada siya kung basta balag isa lang na siya as long as na may other, let's say, backup plan, na may mga backup information with regards to your problem. Masyada siya nga different po siya sa lahat. Because kung ako mabuton dito nga panel, if your research is all about the attitude or the behavior of the, let's say, senior high school student when it comes to the modalities of learning, I think the answer that you need is already there on the table. So what's the point of conducting the research? No? Because you as a student already knew what is the problem. So what's the point of proving that one? So na yung mga inyana ng mga incident that you need to consider as well. But like I've said, you have also here the backup plan. Diba? Pwede ka defend. You have to defend. So how will you defend that one? It should be based on your proposed research. And if you think that your research is quite effective, then go on with the process. So, yan lang. Okay, so let's talk about the common mistakes when you are proposing your writing or your research. So first is failure to provide the proper context to frame the research question. I think it's very common sa inyo, Hamagod, because again, let's say it's your first time that conducting this research. And for a while class. Okay, so I think this is one of the common errors in your student. Mag-build pa lang sa research question, failure na dyan. Di ba? Am I right? Hello? Sakto, ho? Diba? Kung saan ako sa nabantayan. Dito sa activity nga akong gibuhat, di ba? I allowed you to at least I gave you this sample capstone research from my previous students, and then I told you to create a research question out of those titles. And then apparently most of you actually did not get the idea on how to create the research question. Failure to provide that certain context will lead you to the extreme failures in your content, sa inyong research. So you have to make sure that from the research question pala, essential na siya. Okay? And then, again, do not start, advice do not start your question with the whys. Diba? I keep on repeating that one. Kung masin matag-why man good, it will be more, the branches of those whys will be more on the broadened side. So imagine if dagan kay Y sa imuhang research question, and then when you are about to conduct your research, wala mo dinamit ni mo tanan duwa. So, di ba? Another is failure to delimit the boundary conditions for your research. Kinsa din yung mga tao ang inyong conductan sa research, no? Unsa o asa nga specific place mo dapat mo conduct. And then, one po, usay limitation sa inyong plan. Usay time limit inyo. Usay focus sa inyong study. So, you have to make sure that you have equipped those things already before you conduct your research. And then failure to cite landmark studies. The landmark studies that I'm talking about here are those citations, those references and resources. So failure to include those landmark studies will actually will complicate things because it will be more on the you'll be judged by what do you call this one, by plagiarizing on other people's work. So you have to make sure that you have put the yeah, you have included the let's say the citation. Failure to accurately present the theoretical and empirical contributions by other researchers. It's the same thing with citing the landmark studies. Failure to stay focused on the research question. Okay. Again, be creative but constructive, but do not be creative but imaginative. Okay, your imaginative mind will not get you to a very effective and very sufficient answer coming from your question, because your question is really quite. Let's say that your question is really serious. It's quite formal, but once you have conducted your study, naisa sa inyo syempre, naisa sa inyo din, for example, no, naisa sa inyo din pasikaton kayo ng estudyante. He has or she has this very imaginative information with regards to your problem. Dahil kay siya kuan flowery words, di ba? Dahil kay siya gipambutang-butang diya sa iyahan sa inyong study. And then suddenly, when the panel started to read your work, wala na, di ba? Layo na kayo ang kwan. Di ba siya, wala na siya nagkwan. Wala na yung direction ang inyong research. So, you have to make sure that it's okay to be creative, but too much imagination, hindi siya kaya, no? And failing to develop a coherent and persuasive argument for the proposed research. Okay. Why do you need to develop a very coherent and persuasive argument when you're proposing your research? Can I have okay. How about you, Budlaw? Joel, are you there, Joel?
Yes, sir.
Okay. On your own, in your opinion na ha, kana Joel based from your opinion why do you think we need, as a researcher, why do you think we need to develop a very coherent and persuasive argument when we propose our research? Any thought about this one?
Ay, wala ako na gawa ang questions.
Again, why do you think we need to develop a coherent and persuasive argument when we propose a research?
To persuade the future readers of your study, sir, na effective ang imuhang research.
Okay, effective ang research, persuading other people, persuading other people to make them read that your proposed research is effective. How about you, Amethyst? How about your opinion, Amethyst? Why do you think we need a coherent and persuasive argument when we propose a research? Are you there, Amethyst? Hello. Okay, how about you, Christian? Ready?
Sir, putol-putol ka, sir.
Christian. How about you, Christian? Same question kay Joel ganina. Why do we need to develop a very, let's say, a coherent and persuasive argument for the proposed research? Why not simple but broad?
Para, sir.
Sige.
Kakuha lang, sir, kay para ma-impress ang panel.
Okay, you're after for the impression, lugar. That title pa ng lugar kay catchy na siya sa mga panels. That what you
Yes, sir.
is that what you meant? Okay. So, thank you so much for your answers, Kwasa. Actually, your answers are correct, no? Dapat title pa ng good, catchy na siya. Okay? Because if your title, again, is, let's say, it's very common, no? Ang common ng good ng mga research title ng good class, those things are not really that persuasive anymore. Kaya nga naman, because most of the panel have read already those sample. So what's the point of conducting those research? What's the point of proposing those research if it's already common? So if your title is not really that one, let's say the content, no, is wala di siya especially in your RRL, inyong kanang literature, it's too weak. It's very weak for the conducting of the research. I think mas sana sa kung bawion na lang yung ko sa title. And then, during sa writing sa mong RRL, try to add, let's say, write some enthusiastic but very informative na mga statements, no? Especially based on yung opinion, because you really need that let's say those components, no, to make your proposed research effective. Okay. So another is too much details on minor issues but not enough details on the major issues. Okay, let's go back on the key terms. Okay, and especially start understanding the purpose of knowing the variables in every research or in every study ninyo. Again, when you know or when you have already, you have an idea already on what are those variables in your research. I think when you are when it comes to, let's say, collecting of the data, especially on the references, nanami guide, because let's say, for example, the variable talks about this one. You have the dependent and the dependent. You have to choose which of the two will be more on will be the focus of your study. So, for example, if the independent variable here is a minor issue already and the dependent variable here is the major issue, then try to collect information that will justify the existence of this major issue, which is the dependent variable. For the independent variable, it will be more on the na lang siguro, supporting details na lang siguro. But do not diba? Do not focus the study more on the minor issues. Mas syada din siya kung sa major issue ka, dito ka sa mga hanging point sa imong research hatag og attention. Okay? Now, too much rambling or going all over the map without a clear sense of direction. The best proposals move forward at ease and grace like the simplest river. So what do you mean by too much rambling or going all over the map without a clear sense of direction? Like what you're doing, I'm sorry if it's true. Karabit ang nagbuhat na kag-research para lang sa imong grado. Or nagbuhat kag-research tungod kay gusto lang ka magbuhat. Or nagbuhat kag-research because di pugos ka. No? If gina-force mo good ang usa ka researcher to create this research, for example, without even him or her, no, allowing him or herself to at least uh, kind of mag-build a curiosity out from a simple thing. Alam mo ito, wala kay kuan, wala, dili mo ma-virtualize ang imuhang kuan, dili mo ma-virtualize ang imuhang possible outcomes in research. If you cannot see the result already virtually, then think kuan pa, think thoroughly. If kinahanglan pa ba nimo i-push na siya or dili na. Di ba? So, if you think that your research is weak and it's dili siya, wala siya patunguhan class, wala siya direction, then try to kuan, uh, try to change the concept. Okay, try to change the direction into to a prosper one. Because if you are allowing yourself to focus on the studying of that wala G point, then wala gyapon pulos, di ba? Next, too many citation, lapses, and incorrect references. Okay, common error po din siya sa mga researchers, no? Especially sa inyo students when last time I was asked kung pila di kabuok ang limit sa kuha, pila ang limit sir when it comes to putting the references. Actually, there's no limitation. But again, familiarizing the key terms, knowing the variables will lead you to a very specific references. It will lead you to a reference kung asa substantial ang your content. Now, if let's say matasan sa student karon na ang mag-copy paste na lang because kabalo na silang RRL is all about references coming from other, let's say, network. And then ang iba din na copy paste copy paste copy paste copy paste hangtod na yung 11 pages ang references, 11 pages ang RRL. But the question is, those 11 pages ba is nakuha niya ang point sa study, no? Or was the citation properly established? Okay, are those references liable? Are those references legible? So, muna siya mga common mga error na gagamit sa mga point. Actually, dito kung panelist ka, copy basa sa RRL, especially first statement pa lang, ito yung first paragraph pa lang sa inyong studies. Hindi na yun siya aligned sa inyong question. So, like I've said, we have local and we have foreign studies, but you have to make sure that those studies really belong to one group. Okay? You have only one goal. So, kung ang imong local study, wala nag-met dito sa imuhang, let's say, sa imuhang foreign study, wala gyapon na siya. Okay? So, you have to make sure that all of those references there is really helpful. Okay? Ayaw lang ng basta-basta gibutan. And then, too long or too short. Okay? So, ko mga paano na nami, let's say, yun na nakabalo ko, I was informed that most of you nagpasa og introduction niya, one page lang, nagpasa introduction niya. Let's say, ilang ka paragraph lang. Kung yan ang inyong starting output class, gusto ko na lang ka sa RRL ninyo. Diba? So, kung sa introduction pa lang, isa ka page na yung kabuhat, usa na lang ka kung pag-abot sa different chapter. So, dili siya, no? Wala assurance that you will do, that it will lead us. No? For example, me as a reader, it will lead me to a definite and a correct answer nga nakabutang pa lang sa inyong problem. So, if it's too long, for example, if your proposal is too long, then it's quite let's say, the first statement is exciting, but the rest is boring. If it's too short, there will be makabuild og kanang confusion na sa panelist. Makabuild ko na siya og kanang bitang, let's say, makabuild siya og bitang walay assurance that the content of your possible proposal will be effective. So, either way, no? Wala dyan, walay patunguhan if it's too long or too short. Masyada ang proposed na research na to if it's neutral lang. What do I mean neutral lang? Hindi siya taas, hindi siya short put. But enough lang siya. Okay? But the enough that we're talking about here should contain all of those information that we needed. No? That a reader, needed. Or a panelist like me needed para para at least ma-consider that your proposal is really good or not. Okay? Okay, so guidelines in writing a research proposal. So proposal writing is important to your pursuit of a graduate degree. Let's say, like what is happening right now sa yung capstone research, is grade 12 manuals, it's very important. The proposal isn't a fact, an intellectual, scholastic, not legal contract between you and your committee. Let's say this is your passport. This is your passport for success. Uh, for example, your research is the key, no, for the door sa inyong graduation. So failure to conduct, failure to submit research is, let's say, will not give you 100% assurance that you will pass. Diba? Because sa inyong college puhon class, sa college mo, especially STEM mo, diba, it will be, hindi siya inadlock, pero it will be quite kanang complicated. But if you have this kanang, let's say, naamoy ka na, naamoy guts, diba? Naamoy strength to at least pursue that certain direction, then siya lang outcome sa inyong research board. Okay? Though the process is complicated, it's quite complicated, pero at the end, diba, the success will be yours. It specifies what you will do, how will you do it, and how will you interpret the results. The objective in writing a proposal is to describe what you will do, why it should be done, how will you do it, what you expect with the result. And being clear about these things from the beginning will help you complete your thesis in a timely fashion. I hope you have this mindset, no? That you know already the beginning of your research until the end. Okay? It depends na siguro sa inyong class, inyong creativity as a person. So, even a panel or even your advisor cannot do something about that one. What the advisor can at least do is to give you some advices, to guide you, diba, on what to do, and how will that advisor of yours will direct you to the end sa inyong research or thesis na kada siya ang ending. A vague, weak, or fuzzy proposal can lead to a long, painful, and often unsuccessful thesis writing exercise. It's very understandable naman siguro sa siya possible na statement. So, again, it depends on the group. If your group is wala, di ba? Naman yung chance mag-good class na sa atong grupo, sa atong pito ka group mates, tulo lang bright na upat na talapungo. Di ba? Sa talapungo ang upat na isa ra na ang masaligan, so tulo ang way hinungdan. Sa tulo ka wala hinungdan, taganim lang trabaho, mapasa na sila o di mao. So, sa naman sa matabo na, wala din mabuhat. Di ba? What will be the end of your research? Fuzzy, weak, very vague. So, you have to I'm not telling you to be judgmental. I'm not telling you to dictate your group mates kung sa siya ka walay pulos, for example. But what I'm telling you is that kindly assess your group mates. No? Try to ask them questions. Na if na-met niya, for example, ikaw ask a question as a leader, for example, as or the leader sa group, kung na-met na niya ang imong na-met na nimo ang answer nga mag-build ka question para siya, tapos na-answer na niya, tapos para siya satisfied na ka, then masyada siyang assessment. Rather than telling that person nga, pwede ba ikaw to na-zero sa English? Nabugok man ka, di ba ka masaligan? Di ba? Di ba ka pwede mag-iyan na sa imong group mates? Yung masakit na masumbong ka. So, ang fault mo noon nasa imuha is gusto lang ka nga tsada inyong research, di ba? Another is a clean, well thought out proposal forms. The proposal forms the backbone for the thesis itself. So the structures are identical, and through the miracle of the words processing, your proposal will probably become your thesis. I think it will start from defending your research. If your backbone is strong, di ba? If your research is virtually siya, kaya siya, virtually kaya siya buhaton, then that could be the final proposal na pwede nyo present sa mga panel. And of course, if you know how to do the miracle of word processing, for example, kabalo mo sa auto-paraphrase, kabalo mo sa mga dapat ibutan, then tsada na siya. Okay, final na dinalay. Another is a good thesis proposal hinges on good idea. Once you have a good idea, you can draft the proposal in an evening. I think sa chosen people na siya nga guideline. Like, di ba ka pwede mag-ingon nga kaya rin mo sa kagabi ko, di ba? Ang pag-propose sa research. But what's good in here is that, let's say, ahead of time, you have this idea already that is unique and not common at the same time. But it's not really affecting it's not affecting the other groups. Okay? Also, no, wala po siya wala po siya nagkapariha sa lain. Unique lang din siya. I think if you'll be building some backbones of those ideas of yours, you can actually develop a proposal overnight. But the problem that pwede mo ma-encounter on that moment is that kinsa may mga groupmate ni mo nga pwede mo tabang na what if sila magiging effective, di ba? Ikaw, personally, you have this amazing idea, but at the same time, on the other hand, you have your groupmates here na, again, dili ka siya yung helpful sa imong kwan. So, try to weigh the situation. And then the proposals help you estimate the size of the project and don't make the project too big. Actually, pwede na to siya ma-align siya class sa mga especially those are very professionals. Most of them have this project, this proposal that it's not budget friendly. And I think research are not project friendly. Like, ang lugar, for example, student pa mo, no? So, unsa may part sa research ang medyo kalas. So, sa drafting pa lang kalas na naa. So, kung ma-propose na research ka ng I think, I guess, no? Hindi siya kinanglan easy because although easy na siya, but when it comes to sa formulation, especially sa content, medyo madugo din na. Kaya syempre, di ba mo pwede buhaton na siya na simple lang kayo. Dapat char-char-charan din na mo. Kaya kung simple na kayo na siya, di ba di siya igniting, di siya catchy. So, di na siya char-charan gamay. But again, you have to think of course, let's say, the budget, either time or money na siya. Diba? You have to consider those. So this is the format on the standard model of the research proposal. So just do some screenshots if you want. So we have here a proposal outline. Introduction, topic area, question, significance to the knowledge or the study, literature review. On the literature review, it could be the different thing. Pwede previous research others or yours. Interlocking findings and unanswered questions. Preliminary work on the topic, the remaining questions and interlocking logic, and reprise of your research questions in this context. So, these are the following guidelines. We also get to the methodology, from the approach to the data needs, to the analytic techniques, to the plans for the interpreting of the result, what could be the expected result, the budget, either time again or money, and the references or the bibliography. For the thesis, let's just skip this one because it's not important anymore. This one, the part. Okay, so yun na siya na class. Kaya encounter ang components, no? The title, introduction, statement of the problem, rationale, justification, significance of the research, scope and the limitation of the study, review of the literature, objectives of the research, operational definition of terms used, hypothesis, methodology used, time schedule, work plan, budget, estimated cost built up for time, let's say. Time is also part of this one. Organization of the report, okay? Which chapter outline will you follow? Depends on your research if it's really a research. Okay? The references are the bibliography, conclusions, and the appendix. I don't need to discuss this one because I think it's done already. We'll be meeting these components ng both sa of the research ninyo. So I think I don't have to discuss this one anymore. So these are just the let's say the details of those components. So you might be encountering most of this one in your comes to research. Anyway, you have your your face-to-face kanang consultation on your research advisor. So you'll be more enlightened on the actual, no? Say actual. Okay, sa ako na siya istorya sa inyo and then this should siya ma-visualize ninyo. But sa face-to-face, magod niyo siyang research karon, masabtan niyo na siya ang niyang mga details din. Okay? Okay. Before we end, kani siya, mga tips and tricks, no, on when you do the research, ato na siya ikuan, maragpan na siya, bali, naka-simplify na siya. So, what are the tips and tricks when you do your research? Read and read. Okay? Basa na dyan. No? Isa sa pinaka-effective na, let's say, trick para makakandak mo siya ng research is to read and read. Take notes, again, di ba? Highlights those words, outline something na nakita ninyo sa mga articles na nabasa, and also talk to the supervisors, experts, or fellows. So, do some brainstorming with your group mates, and then if it's not convincing anymore, try to jump to the next level. Try to ask your supervisors. Try to seek advices from the experts, and then also write topics and topics. So it depends on the key terms that you're using actually. So, right, get confused and get afraid. Why do you think you have to get confused and get afraid? Because you'll be more determined to really pursue your research if you're confused and you're afraid. So, ironic mo siya paminahon, pero it's a very effective. Like, kung mo diba, masakit sa iyot ni. Ano kaniyanin niya siya, di ba? Mga ngano. So, kana mga ngano dana, it will lead you to a path kung asa maka-answer na noon mo sa mga possible, let's say, questions that is included sa inyong research proposal. Also, generate a number of research questions. Please lang, ayaw mo download og mga research questions na gikan na sa lain or gikan na na-establish. Try to rewrite, try to rephrase the questions and align it to yours. Okay? Dili pwede nga nag-download lang ka sa tungod kini kaparehas sa research ninyo na siya provided na question, yun, nag-copy. Ayun na yan. Okay? And then systematize research questions. Okay? And then cut down this in line with your coherent thinking. So, it's a very good advice, no? Align this one with your coherent thinking. So you are asked to be more of a thinker rather than one kana mas siya nga coherent thinker ka rather than imaginative thinker. So kana lang, no? Kana lang ang mga advices. Okay, I think it's not important anymore to discuss the do's and don'ts. So, any questions so far about the research proposal?
Wala,
None so
sir.
far, sir.
Okay, did I make myself clear
Wala,
about
sir.
the topic? Sabta na?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, if
Gamay.
there's no question,
Yes,
gamay.
sir.
Sige lang, gamay ninyo mo. Dako na siya basta makakandak na mag-research. Di ba? Pag naray kasaba,
Yes, sir.
ang silba. But,
Yes, sir.
okay, that's it for today, everyone. Thank you so much for listening and have a great day. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.
Sige, sir.
God bless.
Bye, sir. Thank you.
Bye. Goodbye.